converges with Europe at a very fast pace. So a high growth rate is for me my number one priority. This will give us also the fiscal space to drive through important changes in health, in education, and in other policy areas I deeply care about.
You're very confident that you'll get investment grade. When you get investment grade, what does that mean? What does that change in terms of possible extra investment coming into the country?
I think it changes lots of things. There's currently a lot of capital that cannot invest in Greece simply because we're not investment grade. As you know, we are already trading as if we are an investment grade country, but we also need the official stamp of approval by the rating agencies. I think it will further lower our cost of borrowing, which of course is important in a high interest environment. We've been able to defy the trend. The Greek economy is going to grow significantly in 2023. And this is also giving us a fiscal space to further reduce our debt. We will be able, before the end of the year, to actually repay ahead of time our GLFA facility for the next 2 years. And I think this will also send a positive signal to the markets that not only are we focused on growth, but we also want to make sure that our debt to GDP ratio continues to decline at a very rapid pace.
It's a promise to what investors...
Yeah, we will, and it's a commitment to investors. We will accelerate the reforms, and we will make sure that whatever reforms we implement will be done in such a way not to compromise our country's fiscal position. Greece went through a lot, through a very painful period. We will never ever relive these difficult times. But I think we've proven that you can drive high growth, you can reasonably reduce taxes while at the same time maintaining very healthy public finances. And I do expect our debt to GDP to continue to decline significantly. And of course, again, this will also give us the fiscal space to make sure that we ensure markets that we're serious and actually repay part of our debt ahead of time.
Prime Minister, how difficult is it to do all of this with the cost of living crisis?
I mean, the cost of living crisis is very concerning to us. And of course, it has hit the poorer segments of the society disproportionately hard. 2 points. First of all, we have lower inflation than most European countries. And I think we were successful in using targeted measures to help those in greater need. We resisted the temptation to lower VAT and excise taxes. And now I'm happy to see that lots of the studies that are coming out now point out exactly to the fact that lowering VAT does not lead to a reduction in inflation. This gave us a fiscal space to use targeted measures. We will most probably continue these targeted measures, especially when it comes to the supermarket. We're concerned about food prices. And I prefer a direct cash transfer to more vulnerable Greeks to help them with a supermarket bill than a horizontal cut in VAT, which will drain my public finances and probably will not be effective in terms of containing inflation.
When do you expect inflation, and I don't know how much this has to do also with the war in Ukraine, but when do you expect food inflation to come down?
It's been persistent. I wish I had a crystal ball, but what I do know is that it is coming down faster than other European countries, although it is still an area of concern. And of course, interest rate policies are not driven by us, so we have to adjust. But it's good news that, for example, in Greece, consumer confidence, the PMI has been growing, whereas in the rest of Europe, it's been on a downward trend. So we seem to be defying the trend. Not only will we avoid a recession, but we will, grow by more than 2% this year, which, given the circumstances, I'd say is pretty good.
Prime Minister, if you look at actually your opposition, you almost have none in Parliament, but you do have the rise of 3 far-right parties. What can you tell us about them? Are they pro-Russia?
Well, first of all, we have a comfortable majority in Parliament, and we have a 23% gap from the opposition. I mean, the left, Syriza, suffered a strategic defeat in these elections. And I'm happy because essentially we prevailed through politics of competence, reason. We moved the party towards the political center. So yes, there is future beyond populism. And we've proven that if you run a competent government, you can actually make it possible to get re-elected. So I think this is a good message for everyone fighting an election against populists, whether they come from the left or from the right. Now, as far as the extreme right is concerned, yes, we have 3 small parties in Parliament. We have a 3% threshold. They managed to be right above that. In total, it's probably 12 or 13% of the electorate. For 2 of these parties, we have no idea what they stand for. It will make Parliament probably louder and more, I don't know if it's going to be more interesting, but no, the extreme right is not organized in the way it is in other countries, and we certainly don't need the extreme right to govern. We managed to govern on our own, and this was always a strategic choice by me, moving the party to the center while making sure that we attract enough people to have an absolute majority. So we're able to do that. So these are fringe parties. Yes, some of them are sort of pro-Russian,
yeah,
but not very explicitly, right, but indirectly. But they're not a big factor in Greek politics.
But so you don't think it's a warning of something to come, no, either for other European countries?
Look, I've
Greece?
Always been, I always take the grievances of people who vote for protest parties seriously. And it is true that some people do feel marginalized, they feel threatened, they feel that maybe the world is moving at a faster pace, and they're being left behind. But in Greece, because we went through a crisis, I think there's been a process of Greek society really maturing, and maybe actually in terms of the political development, leapfrogging what is happening in many other European countries. So we won a second mandate, which is even stronger politically than the first one. I think this says something about Greek society, and in that sense, it also gives the necessary political predictability to investors, because I always said that you need 2 terms to really do a big transformation project. So I think investors are also looking at Greece, and they look at 4 years without until the next national election, a stable government, a safe pair of hands. So I'm sure that they like what they see in terms of the politics of the country.
Up next, tourism accounts for about 1/5 of Greece's economy. But as visitors flock to the country and its beautiful islands, the Prime Minister is at pains to ensure he doesn't trade nature for short-term profit.
I want to make sure that, in 5 years from now, we will not have sacrificed, the beauty of our sort of natural environment at the interest of a very rapid growth.
Big, expensive cities have a lot going for them. But if you live in one, you've probably noticed that these big, expensive cities keep getting more, well, expensive. You could always move away. You might have just started working remotely, so there's really nothing keeping you there. But then again, moving is a hassle. Well, what if someone paid you 10 grand to do it? What if they threw in free office space, a bicycle, or a gym membership? Programs in cities and states around the US are doing exactly that, and they're getting a lot of interest.
We've had over 50,000 applications.
About 90,000 applications.
We've had over 1,800 applicants from all over North America.
So are these nascent programs actually beneficial to their communities and the workers joining them? Or are they little more than flashy advertising campaigns for places looking for an injection of fresh talent?
Lisa, you've got to explain this one to me. What does it mean when the White House says we're watching markets carefully?
It means they have a Bloomberg.
I've seen the Bloomberg.
They have.
I've been in and seen it.
Lots of Bloombergs. Lots of Bloomberg. Lots of Bloomberg. Lots of Bloomberg. Lots of Bloomberg. Lots of Bloomberg.
I've seen the Bloomberg. I've seen the Bloomberg. I've seen the Bloomberg. I've seen the Bloomberg. I've seen the Bloomberg. What does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean?
It means they have a Bloomberg.
Welcome back to Bloomberg Daybreak Europe.
Good morning, good morning. This is Bloomberg Surveillance.
Welcome to Bloomberg Markets, China Open.
This is Bloomberg Technology.
To our television and radio audiences worldwide, welcome now to Balance of Power.
This is Bloomberg.
I think that it's hard to put your head around any narrative. Let's just be honest. We've had...
I'm a wanted man.
At Zaro, the most wanted. And now, the new Wanted Eau de Parfum by Zaro.
During the 2008 financial crisis, the stock market fell 37%. Yet one man, hedge fund manager Larry Benedict, posted 23% gains. He delivered $95 million in pure profit to his clients. In the first half of 2022, he did it again. During the worst market in 50 years, those following his work saw double and triple-digit growth. What's his secret? As you'll discover, Larry doesn't invest the traditional way. His approach has nothing to do with buy and hold, and it flies in the face of everything a financial planner would ever tell you. In today's interview, He's agreed to come forward and reveal his unique method, including the name of the ticker symbol you need to get started. Larry Benedict, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, well, Larry, you're one of the few dozen people in the entire world to earn the label Market Wizard. I know you don't like to brag, but in fact, a whole chapter was written about you in the best-selling series Market Wizards. We actually have the book right there. There you are, right after billionaire Ray Dalio. But from what I understand, your approach is different than Dalio, Paul Tudor Jones, or any other wizard.
That's right. It's unlike anything you've probably ever seen. I call it the one-ticker retirement plan. But put simply, it's designed to help you make all the money you need in any market using just one ticker.
Okay, now Larry, I'm sure those watching at home are thinking, really? Just one ticker? That's impossible.
I know. I don't blame you for being skeptical, but I've been using this strategy for years, decades even. As a hedge fund manager, it's helped me deliver millions to my clients year after year in all market conditions, and I continue to use it today.
Well, I've heard about your historic run on Wall Street. From 1990 to 2010, you were perfect. During a period that included both the 2000 and 2008 crashes, you never had a single losing year. In fact, you did so well that your firm Banyan Capital made Barron's list of most successful hedge funds. You can see it on your screen, folks. Larry's hedge fund was ranked 36th in the entire world. Considering there are over 10,000 hedge funds, that puts it in the top 1%. That's so impressive. But all that said, Larry, you're a legit market wizard. What about folks, well, like me, who don't have a 6 or 7-figure bankroll? Is this something we can do too?
Yes, that's why I'm here today, Kim. You don't need to be a hedge fund manager to use this approach. Everyday folks can do this too.
I like hearing that. And you brought some examples with you. These are everyday people who are using different versions of your one-ticker blueprint. We have a few on the screen. Chris N says, I made $12K within 3 hours. I get the feeling that Larry's strategy is the only thing I will need to retire comfortably. Thanks, Larry, for taking the decision to help common people. Rod R says, over 800%. That's my biggest 24-hour trade I've had in over 20 years. Thanks, Larry. Those are some of the biggest short-term gains I've ever seen, Larry. Obviously, everyone's experience will be different, but there are many more stories just like these.
These people aren't market wizards, Kim. As you will see, I have designed this strategy for everyone. You don't need a big nest egg to get started.
And this is true even in today's crazy market. You're not worried? There's no chance your luck is going to start running out?
One good trade is luck, Kim. Decades of proven success in good and bad markets. That's not luck. During 2008, I had one of my best years of my life. During the pandemic, I made $2 million in a single month. And this year, my one-ticker traders are crushing it in the market.
Wow, well, I'm excited to get to the bottom of this, Larry. If this approach is everything you claim it to be, this could be a game changer for anybody at or near retirement. We're talking about a recession-proof strategy designed for everyone that's proven to work in bull and bear markets, which you believe could give folks all the money they need for a comfortable retirement. Folks, Larry's agreed to give you the full story. While most folks are losing money, those following his work have had the chance to make money almost every week. He'll reveal exactly how his strategy works. He'll lay out his track record. He'll reveal the ticker you can start using right now. And you've even agreed to perform an over-the-shoulder demonstration a little later. Isn't that right?
That's right. I've got my phone with me, and I will show you how to use my method right here on camera. It only takes a few seconds. You could start making money as early as today.
Well, great news. And is your ticker a name our viewers will recognize?
I think most people will be surprised, Kim.
Well, I should also mention, Larry's also agreed to give us his latest forecast. At the beginning of 2022, Larry told a reporter all the indexes will be negative for the year. That prediction was spot on. What's more, he's one of the few people to call the 2020 crash. He warned about it a month in advance and showed everyday folks how to profit. But now he has an even bigger and more important forecast. He's sharing it here for the first time. You'll get it a little later in the program. And on that note, let's get right into your one-ticker strategy. Larry, how does it work and how did you discover it?
Well, it's funny. I discovered it by getting fired.
Wait a minute, getting fired?
Yes, you see, I've been a professional trader for more than 30 years. I've had a great career on Wall Street, but I got off to a rocky start. In my first 2 years, I got fired more times than I could count.
Seriously, you? I mean, given where you ended up, that's really surprising to hear.
Yeah, it's funny to look back on it, but at the time it was very upsetting. I would get hired, start trading, lose money over and over again. No matter what I did, nothing worked.
So then what changed?
Well, eventually I realized what I was missing. It was specialization. I was trying to trade everything, the latest hot stock, the latest trading fad. I was like a chicken with my head cut off.
So you decided to focus on just one thing?
Exactly. That became my new approach. Forgetting about 99% of all stocks, forgetting about the latest fad, finding one thing and sticking to it.
Okay, one thing, stick to it. It doesn't really get much more specialized than that.
It doesn't, and it changed everything for me. Before long, I was making $1,000 a day, then $10,000 in a day, then 100, and so on and so on.
Wow, that's fascinating. So I take it that specialization is the first component of your strategy.
Yes, my strategy boils down to 2 rules. Number 1, diversification is for dummies.
Okay, now wait a minute. I got to push back just a little bit on that, Larry. I've done some research on this, and you look at any mainstream source, Fidelity, TD Ameritrade, the financial section of the New York Times, they all preach diversification. It's one of the oldest mantras in finance.
Well, let me ask you, how is that working out for everybody?
Well, yeah, I've looked at my 401k lately, and fair point, it really doesn't look all that good.
Look at the results of diversification.
Oh my goodness. As much as $3 trillion in retirement savings has been wiped out this year.
3 trillion, Kim. That's a 3 followed by 12 zeros.
And all the major 401k plans have seen losses this year?
Every single one. I think about all these poor people. They did everything right. They worked hard, saved, diversified, and now their savings is starting to disappear. This is happening all across America.
It's really so sad. We can see it on the screen there. 25% of Americans now say they'll have to delay retirement.
We're talking millions of people. And you know why? The diversification model. It is crushing people. That's why I'm coming forward today. There is a better way.
But let me ask you, is it fair to judge the system during a market like this? These are pretty unusual times. Historically speaking, the traditional retirement method has worked pretty well, right?
No, that's one of the biggest myths out there. Just look at the numbers.
Okay, we're looking at the S&P 500's long-term performance. This century, it's delivered around 7% per year. So at this rate, it would take you 36 years to turn $100,000 into $1 million retirement? Is that true? Wait a minute. 36 years?
Yes, and that doesn't even account for inflation. If you factor that in, it's probably about 50 years.
Oh my goodness, half a century?
Maybe that works if you're in your 20s, but if you're near retirement age, no way. Compare that to my strategy. As you will see, it is possible to make decades worth of gains in a matter of days.
Wow, I had no idea it took so long, Larry. No wonder we're in a retirement crisis.
I was lucky. I realized this as a young trader. You see, Wall Street figured this out a long time ago. At a big Wall Street firm, they would never tell you to trade everything. It was all about specialization. Get this, when I was at Spear, Leeds and Kellogg, I specialized in a single index, the XMI.
So all you did was trade that index?
Yes, all day, every day. It was my entire focus.
Wow, Spear Leeds was one of the most successful trading firms in the world, Larry, and you were one of their top guys. Is it common to have such a narrow focus?
Yes, on Wall Street it is. Everyone is a specialist. You have foreign currency traders, equity traders, oil traders, you even have grain traders.
And let me ask, why do they do it that way?
Think about it. When you only trade one asset, you get to know it really well. You start to understand how it moves, you detect patterns. Most importantly, you figure out how to make money from it in all markets. The proof is in the chart, Kim.
And we're looking at a chart of Wall Street trading revenue. Wow. Wall Street's making tens of billions of dollars from trading every year. Is this how they make so much money in good markets and bad?
Yes. It is so important. Please remember this. As a trader, there are no bad markets. Billions of dollars are up for grabs every year.